Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another Daily Marvel Snap video. So today we have a Thanos deck, and I know, we have a Thanos deck. After he's been brought back down in how strong he is, the lockjaw rotation doesn't feel like it is the proper way to build him. Now, the lockjaw rotation deck with just a couple of small changes still maintains a pretty decent, like mid-50s% win rate, but it's no longer consistently getting over 60% win rate over a huge scale of different games like it was before. And so what we did with this one is we angled in much more towards the Khazar Zoo with some lane lockdown components. With the natural ramp tool of Time Stone, we can sometimes get a Professor X out early. We might also just do a Spider-Man on 4 into a Professor X on 5, while having played a lot of cards on 1, 2, and 3, leading up to the Spider-Man, which should allow us to have initiative, and it should allow us to more easily place a Valkyrie on the last turn of the game, along with maybe a Titania, maybe another one-cost card. But it makes it much more easy for us to find those ways to win. And then it also uses Valkyrie. Valkyrie is one of those cards that I have liked, but I've never found a list that she just feels consistent in, because a lot of times it's very situational. Valkyrie feels like a card you need to build all the way around, but she's not going to be able to win every game that she's built around. So if your opponent has any kind of ongoing cards, Valkyrie is much less impactful. And so with this build, and this build in particular, it's not an all-in on Valkyrie. You could do decently, and you put a lot of power on the board between the 3 lanes with just your one costs, just your Flood, just your buff cards like your Khazar, your Blue Marvel. Very rarely are we going to play Thanos, but that is an option if we got all of our stones out early. And overall, the list runs pretty well. In my testing, I had just over a 62% win rate over the span of 20 games. I did a smaller sample size than normal, but over 20 games, I did maintain a low 60% win rate, which I think is good. For Thanos, I think it's good. This does take out the leech, which was one of the most annoying things about the Thanos list. I would feel much better about losing to a Spider-Man, Professor X, Lock, Thanos, even though it won't feel good, versus a lockjaw rotation that flipped into an early leech or flipped into 7,000 power in the lockjaw lane, and then all of a sudden they just move the lockjaw and then rotate 3 more cards and get another 10 million power on the board. This one feels a little bit more honest than what the other one did. It is also fairly consistent, does really well into certain matches that we are seeing pretty commonly. So Shuri is one of those that we can restrict their Taskmaster play with Goose. We can set the big power play that they do to 3 with Valkyrie. We can lock down a lane with Professor X. If we can get a good read of where they're going to be dropping their power, we can sneak in a Professor X lock. That makes it much more easy for us to find a way to win from there. But overall, the deck list runs very, very well. If you want to see more of this or any of our other decks live, make sure you be following us on twitch.tv/TLSGSnap. That is where we've been going live 5 days a week. I've been really enjoying streaming over there, so definitely check it out. There's a lot of cool features that we have, a lot of cool channel point redemptions, and it's just a good, wholesome vibe. And so with the brief deck explanation out of the way, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, next up we have Battle Mad, and the first location is the Triskelion, and it gives us a handful of just stuff. It gives us a Koye, which is not terrible. It does help us gain some extra power and value out of the cards. Now, we don't want to necessarily play Reality Stone or Mind Stone. We don't need the extra draw, at least just yet. So we want to try and get rid of some of the cards in our hand first. Shadowland is not incredible for us. I do think we lean in on the Okoye. We'll play Okoye. We have Reality Stone to change one location, Mind Stone to draw in 2 cards. Ooh, and they have an Invisible Woman. So it could be a Hella deck, but it could also be like an Electro Ramp. It could be like a MODOK Hella discard, resummon. I don't know. There's a few. I think there's a few things that it could be. So let's go ahead and do this. We will draw 3 cards, so we're not going to naturally draw next turn. We do have Khazar, and that's going to help just about everything we have on the board. And we're going to change the... Do we want to change the Quantum Realm? I don't think we necessarily want to change the Quantum Realm. I'm going to change mid. So with our low power cards, I'm okay with them getting set to 2. So our stones all get set to 2, which are pretty beneficial for us. So the middle turns into the camp, and so then it draws us a Doctor Strange, which is not fantastic. That's not what we wanted to see. But we do have Khazar. I'm going to go ahead and play that into mid. That way if they happen, I mean, I guess they can't Enchantress to the left. So we're going to play Khazar to the left. That's going to help increase the power of all of our cards on the board. It's just our flood. And then they have an Omega Red. I'm so confused at what this deck is. Confused, perplexed, curious, a lot of things with this deck. We get a couple of extra draws here, so I'm just going to play the 2 and then we're going to soak. So Titania, if we draw into She-Hulk, that's beautiful. We get the reduction on her, and we'll kind of go from there. So they do continue to play their cards into the Quantum Realm, so I have no idea what kind of deck they're playing, like none at all. We could do, none of our cards here are actively good in the Quantum Realm. Our best one, our lowest power one, is going to be the Power Stone. We can move that over, do She-Hulk, and then Doctor Strange. That would help us win the left lane. I don't know that that's enough, though, because then we're not going to play. We're going to miss out on playing an extra card. So let's go ahead and play She-Hulk here. We turn first, but we know they can't play in the left lane, so I think we're safe to play Titania there, and then we'll just play the Power Stone on the right. Not the best, but the She-Hulk mid maybe can help us find a way to make sure that they don't get that extra bonus from the Omega Red. I have no idea what kind of deck they're running. It looks like just a crazy deck. So the Onslaught. They don't win mid by 10, thankfully. Rogue is going to steal the Power Stone. No big deal. That's okay. And the Ant-Man is not going to trigger. So had we not been able to keep them within 10 in mid, that was going to be very scary. But they went all in on the Omega Red, which I don't see all that often anymore. This is kind of like a flashback to what the game used to be. In like some of these like all-in combos that when they work, they're kind of cool, but it takes a lot to push into them. This was nice to see. This was nice. This was a nice first game. It was like a flashback, except for we're running Thanos and we're the enemy now. We're going to go ahead and take the 2 cubes and jump over into the next game. All right, next up we have Poinher. The first location is Quantum Realm. It's a hit and miss for us. We do have the extra cards that can continue to kind of get bigger. So we have the Sunspot that can grow over time. We have the Blue Marvel and Khazar that can buff up cards that are in that location even further. So I think we're going to do Goose in the left lane. It almost feels like a waste. However, I think the best playline for them would be to do a Shuri, do a big card, and then play their Taskmaster in Quantum Realm. That's going to be their best way to overcome that much power. Wow, that is really unfortunate. So I guess their Shuri is now 2/4. Their Taskmaster is free, so it can be played into the Quantum Realm. Devastatingly. They snapped on us. I think we'd try for a Hail Mary lock here. We hope that they don't play it this turn, that they do their Shuri here or here, and that we can sneak this lane away. That's going to be our only hope, because their Taskmaster is now free. Him being played in Quantum Realm is massive. They do play in the left lane. Oh, no, what are you doing? And so... Wait. Wow, so that is something I did not know. So it didn't change the power because technically their base is what their cost was. Their power is what their cost was originally, and so... it changes their, essentially, probably their cost to 2. If for some reason it came back in their hand, their cost would probably be 2 now. Wild. Absolutely wild. We'll take it, though. They did do Sauron on 3. They could do Shuri this turn. How actively do we try to drop initiative here? So Valkyrie's only 3. So we could always do Valkyrie plus a couple other cards. Let's just do Iceman here. It feels a little counterintuitive. Okay, so the Typhoid Mary has had the ability removed. So it feels counterintuitive because Valkyrie is so cheap. The Blue Marvel, so cheap. Actually, now that they have Typhoid Mary over there, if we did Blue Marvel this turn, that allows us to next turn do a Power Stone and Valkyrie. And we can do both of those here. We're not going to have initiative, so if they do a massive play, if they have their Red Skull, if they have a Taskmaster, it doesn't necessarily matter. The only thing we have to worry about is maybe an arrow. Ooh, so they skip here. So they skip so they could do a She-Hulk, a Taskmaster, and something else. Like they're just going to be able to bombard the board. They do end up retreating, but our play line was going to be pretty simple. It was going to be Valkyrie and then the Power Stone and then Space Stone to the right to protect us from any kind of negative, any kind of like arrow play or any kind of counter movement style cards. Since we revealed last, they were going to be able to ramp up whatever they played. We were going to be able to offset it with Valkyrie, and we were in a very advantageous spot. I am a little bit sad that they retreated, but we are able to find a way to win on the very strange Shuri game, but we will take it. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, so next up we have Berserk 108. The first location is Lemuria, so whatever we play, it's not going to really, it's not going to be able to grow, it's not going to be able to have the own reveal. So we don't need to throw either of these onto the board just yet. I'm going to start with our Sunspot, and then next turn we can draw our extra cards with the Mind Stone, with Reality Stone. Ooh, and we discard Ant-Man. And they discard Thor, which is, I think, much worse for them than it is for us. So let's do the Mind Stone first, and then I'm going to go ahead and play Reality Stone. And so Mind Stone will draw 2 of our cards, making it less likely that Reality Stone will draw into one of those resources as well. And so that way we can hopefully get a better draw out of our Reality Stone. Ooh, it turns mid into the Crimson Cosmos, which is difficult for this deck to play into somewhat. And then Murder World. It's so unfortunate that we have to snap. Oh, unfortunate. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have My Go. The first location is New York. We're going to go ahead and we're going to play our Sunspot there. The intent of that is that we eventually use Reality Stone. That way, it's not necessarily, they won't be able to move anything over. We can control one of those RNG aspects or elements a little bit more easily. So let's Time Stone. We're going to go ahead and change it now. We're going to do we're going to do both here. We're going to do both in the left lane. That's going to give us 4 energy on the next turn. We probably use that for a Khazar in mid, depending on what else we draw into. Ooh, and then we do get our Professor X. Oh, well, Clintar is not necessarily what we wanted to see. I'd much rather keep the power on the board. The Nexus is decent, though. Let's play Khazar over there. Next turn, maybe we angle for like a Power Stone. And we're looking to lock that down before they're really able to take advantage of it. So they have the Sunspot, the Lizard. This could be a Shuri deck. It surely could be. Let's play the Ant-Man, the Power Stone. We're going to try to sneak in a turn 5 Professor X. Now, if they have a Shuri that they play, then we might opt to just skip instead, and then we'll angle towards a Valkyrie into the Nexus on the last turn. But it really depends on what comes down from the opponent here. The Valkyrie gives us an extra out in case they hit their high roll. And if they don't, then we can angle towards trying to do a Professor X, and I think we're okay. Okay, wow, they have She-Hulk, which is massive. She-Hulk in the right lane, huge. Well, I can't say that I was expecting the She-Hulk there. Their last card was also a Lizard, so we have to watch out for that. Let's go ahead and do Professor X in the left lane. That way they can't do an arrow to pull our Valkyrie out of this lane. Now, with Valkyrie in this lane, we're going to have an extra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extra power here that they're not going to be able to have. So if they have their Red Skull, that's okay. We're going to set it to 3. And then their Lizard the ability is intact on their Lizard. And so I think we're okay here. I think they play, ooh, no, they play into mid. They play their Red Skull into mid? Interesting. Okay. As long as we win the right lane, we are ahead in the left lane in just pure power standpoint. So that's why I think why they ended up playing their Red Skull. They probably have a Taskmaster that they're going to use here, so maybe Taskmaster Titania. But with Nowhere, as long as they don't have a huge lead in these 2 lanes, we're okay. I think their specific play is going to be Taskmaster. I'm going to say Titania as well. And then that would give them the lead, but our Valkyrie will come down. So let's go ahead and lock it in. I don't think they retreat. It's not an increased stakes game. If we were really pushing for like extra cube gain, we would absolutely snap here just because we know the Valkyrie's coming down. We do get the read of the Taskmaster Titania, and we do change their power down to 9, which gives us a very big lead in the left lane, and we're able to hold down the win. And so the Nexus definitely helps us out there. I think we would have been able to win even without it. Even without the Nexus coming down, I think we would have been able to find a way to make that happen. But we will take the 2 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Biz, and the first location is Fisk Tower. We do have Reality Stone. We have Time Stone as well, but I'm going to lean more towards the Reality Stone. Time Stone I want to use to maybe ramp into an early Professor X, maybe ramp into, I don't know, some kind of big impact, high impact play. Death's Domain is not fantastic for us. We're going to go ahead and play Goose into the left lane. It's going to make sure that they can't play any big cards there, trying to restrict them as much as possible. And then we do have now the Professor X. So let's do the Mind Stone and then the Time Stone. That's going to draw 2 of the 3 remaining stones that we have, allowing Time Stone to more consistently draw into one of our actual resources. And so let's do it this order. Next turn, we can Professor X lock mid, and I think we have a very easy game. If I wasn't just kind of slow playing these to make sure that they play all the way out, I would snap here. We were in a good enough position that I think we're comfortable snapping. So they play a Thor into Fisk Tower, which is pretty big. The Thor and Fisk Tower allows them to get a lot of resources there. Now, we're going to do our Professor X. If they have the heads up read and they anticipate that we're going to play our Professor X, they might play something into Death's Domain. They do. Oh, so what is it? Is it more than the 3 power? It's Jubilee. Okay. So I thought they just had a really good anticipation, a really good read, but we do get lucky that we had initiative. We are able to lock down their Jubilee so that that is stuck in that location. Let's do the Sunspot and Soak. We'll see what we draw next turn. Right now we're looking at maybe a Khazar and a Titania. But depending on what we draw and what resources we have, maybe we lean into a Valkyrie in the right lane. I don't know. It just really depends on what we end up getting. I do know that the Professor X mid was devastating. They're still recuperating. We could have went with Spider-Man to the right. Oh, what are we doing? Spider-Man to the right would have almost guaranteed that we could have been able to win this right lane. Oh, and they skip as well. Did they de-seat? No, okay. They do end up retreating, so it didn't matter that we messed up with the Sunspot play, but Spider-Man was it. Spider-Man was the play we should have went with. With that one, we got a lot of retreats. We've been facing players that are playing very cautiously tonight, but that's okay. We are still able to showcase the deck. It does do fairly well into Shuri matches specifically, so if you're seeing a lot of those, this deck should shine. And I think it's a decent use case for Thanos. It allows you to do some cool like lane control stuff with your Goose, your Spider-Man, your Professor X. You could try to slot in Daredevil and a few of those other cards, but I do like the really low curved so that we can play a lot of cards and we have a lot of things and stuff that we're putting onto the board. But I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. As always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.